We await in anticipation for India's white ball squads for the tour of Sri Lanka. It's going to be the first set of squads for Gautam Gambhir as coach of the Indian men's team. What can we expect? We've narrowed it down to 5 questions for which we hope to find the answers. And Raunak Kapoor will hopefully give us the answers, or at least help us second guess what some of these selection calls may be on ESPN Cricinfo Newsroom. Thank you, Raunak, for your time. Let's start with the biggest one. We know there has to be a new T20I captain. You'd think from the outside there were 2 big contenders in Suryakumar Yadav and Hardik Pandya. The word out there seems to be Suryakumar Yadav might be getting the nod. Give us your insight from whatever inside intel you gather.
I'm only giving my objective view here, not what I may have heard from the inside. Look, I'm curious whether there were actually 2 serious contenders until we broke the story, Yash, on Suryakumar Yadav being the likely front runner ahead of Hardik Pandya. If you just go on the story and on the trails of what happened in the World Cup, Hardik was the vice captain, Rohit retires, India win the World Cup, Hardik has a big role to play. It's a no-brainer. The natural succession would be Hardik Pandya by the optics we were given to understand. But perhaps going to Suryakumar Yadav tells us there was more to it, that Hardik's appointment as vice captain was purely for the purpose of that tournament, and given how he was handled and the position and the responsibility he was given in the absence of Rohit Sharma and the T20I set up in the year building to the World Cup. One thing we've learned from the Ajit Agarkar-led selection committee with the evidence of one T20 World Cup is that they believe the captain is in this format of significant importance, more than any other. We all received Rohit Sharma's appointment, or rather early appointment, with some skepticism given his own T20I record, but they were vindicated, and any of us who doubted it were proved wrong. So that allows me to believe now that there's actually more time to plan the next 2-year cycle of the T20 World Cup, which wasn't the case when this new selection committee came together. The focus till November 2023 was the 50-over World Cup, and you had very little T20I cricket from there and the next T20 World Cup with an IPL, and with even Rahul Dravid's future uncertain. So they went in times of uncertainty to Rohit Sharma. Here, they've not gone with a tried and tested or an experienced campaigner. They've effectively put Suryakumar Yadav ahead in the queue. So this makes a very interesting reading. There's a positive side and perhaps a concerning side to this. Let me just start with the positive side. I can understand that Hardik Pandya might be of such importance to the T20I setup. Almost the messaging to him, in my view, would be that you are as important to India's T20I squad as Jasprit Bumrah. So we will manage your workload. We don't want to risk you. But given we will manage your workload, we don't want to add any extra responsibility or pressure of captaincy, which may affect your performance, which is so important to the team because the next best team all-rounder is leagues away, much like Bumrah and the next best fast bowler. So that's the positive messaging to give him, that in spite of you being great, you're awesome, but we don't want you to be carrying the burden of captaincy. However, there is also the negative side, potentially, or the reservations on Hardik Pandya, that everything that happened in the IPL with his track record, that perhaps tactically and as a leader, he does not command the dressing room like Rohit Sharma did, that there may be contemporaries, which includes Jasprit Bumrah and Suryakumar Yadav, that there may be reservations with. I don't think that's a good enough reason, but I think the final decision here might have laid with the new incoming head coach, where he would have seen who he would have seen as the man to take this T20 side forward, who is easier to work with in whatever regards. I'm not saying one is tougher or the other, but this is who Gambhir feels is the right man to take the team forward, because the T20 captain has a huge say in selection, and a T20 captain has a much bigger say in the outcome of a T20 World Cup than the ODI captain or the Test captain does in a big ICC event. So that's how I see things happening, or that's how I see things have happened. That there is a positive side to it, that Hardik is too precious. We don't want to burden him with captaincy. But I think we know enough of Hardik Pandya to say he would have loved to be captain.
Now, when we look at it from Hardik Pandya's lens, Raunak, we've known that he's obviously someone who's had the ambition to lead the Indian side. You thought he would be the captain going into the 2024 T20 World Cup cycle at the start of 2023. Now, again, you thought he's close to the captaincy. What will this do to him? What could this mean to him to lose out on captaincy yet again?
I'm going to speculate, but this will hurt. This will hurt Hardik Pandya. Yes, he's a proud, ambitious man in Indian cricket, and there's nothing wrong with that. and he was at the receiving end of some awful abuse as a result of what transpired in the IPL. And we thought he put all that behind him, and actually, it showed great character with how he performed in the World Cup. I feel for Hardik Pandya, but I can't help but think that this is a much bigger evaluation done by a lot of people, not just one or two people, uh, on who they think will be the better leader for the T20 World Cup. What has gone against Hardik essentially has been a bad year at MI, and potentially the relationships that have been fractured and can be repaired with time, but that time is not now. I would like to believe that Hardik Pandya would be hurting and thinking, you can't be punishing me for being too good a player, so you want to manage my workload and therefore not make me captain. I've given you every sign that I want to be captain. But I think it's not all dark and gloomy for Hardik Pandya. I think Rohit Sharma is a great example, ironically, in a player that commanded the captaincy coming back to him at ages 35 to 38 to captain two World Cups. Because by then, his captaincy pedigree was without question, with his success in the IPL and him having achieved that kind of status as a leader, almost a statesman in the dressing room who got everyone going. Everyone in the dressing room, everyone outside the dressing room who are important stakeholders in Indian cricket. And I hope for Hardik Pandya's sake that time may come as he matures in his international career further. He already ticks every box as a player. He needs to just tick the other boxes that you need to in Indian cricket if you want to see the captaincy coming your way. And I hope his body and time is kind to him.
Okay, so that's the captaincy bit of it. Now, this is also going to be our first look, Raunak, at how Gautam Gambhir and whoever he's working with approaches India's rebuild or their build up to the next T20 World Cup. They've got time for a change this time. You've got close to 2 years till the next T20 World Cup. We've seen the first steps, and you saw it rather closely in Zimbabwe with that squad that was there. How many of those players do you expect to feature in this squad, and how should India's rebuild work out from this series?
Yeah, I think a couple of things that were revealed by just the way that 5-match series went, Yash, that Gill and Jaiswal are the incumbents. And I think that is in keeping with sound selection. We're all very tempted to want to see Abhishek Sharma bat at the top along with the Jaiswal and think you can just go bang bang. Who knows, maybe that time will come. But Jaiswal was the reserve World Cup opener. Shubman Gill was part of the reserve squad, not in the main 15. So given the pattern of selection to keep faith with players, there is every case to suggest that if Gill loses form, there might be a Gaikwad or a Abhishek Sharma knocking. But I have no doubt that Rohit and Kohli's opening spots will be taken by Gill and Jaiswal come Sri Lanka. Other than that, I think that the call the selectors need to importantly make is, are we still looking at multiple all-rounders in an 11 as we try and build towards the balance you'd want for 2026? Do you want to play both Dube and Hardik in the same team? Do you want to play two spin all-rounders and fill that vacancy that Ravindra Jadeja left? Or is there place to bring in a Rinku Singh in a full-strength India side? I think you bring in Rinku Singh regardless, and you'll always have Dube as part of the squad. He looked like a player who was showing the confidence of winning the World Cup in those few games in Zimbabwe. I think his bowling might actually improve from now till 2026. I hope the IPL will provide more opportunities for that, even if Indian T20I cricket doesn't. But yeah, for me, Rinku, along with Jaiswal and Shubman at the top, are your likeliest lock-ins. Washington Sundar with the player of the series performance puts his name right up there if they want to go with the extra spin bowling all-rounder, which they might well do in Sri Lanka. I think it's a bit of a lottery as far as fast bowlers go, because you only have to take that call on who's fit and in form, along with Bumrah much closer, and Bumrah and Arshdeep much closer to the next World Cup. Until such time, you'll see a number of players try and audition for that job.
Okay, T20 is out of the way. Let's focus on the ODIs now. Now, that squad, its makeup will hinge on who out of Kohli and Rohit and Bumrah are actually making the trip, whether or not they continue to be rested for some time, which would be a well-deserved break. Now, let's assume Rohit isn't there. Who do you think is India's next in line as ODI captain?
Given that we've already established that the selectors... I'll start that again. 3, 2, 1. KL Rahul, simply because he was captain in the ODIs in South Africa, and you draw a bit of a link from the last series to this, even though everything that we've said about Hardik Pandya and him being vice captain and now not captain completely contradicts that. But I think KL Rahul is a stable, reliable captain for the interim and a deputy to Rohit Sharma going into the Champions Trophy, simply because it seems like he commands his place in this one format at least, without doubt. So that's a start. Uh, I would not be surprised in the not so distant future if the selectors then decide to look at somebody who they want to groom as captain, like they did with Shubman Gill over here. I think between Shubman Gill and Rishabh Pant, there are going to be people earmarked for leadership positions going forward beyond Champions Trophy 2025 and World Test Championship 2025. And I think those are the two guys they're looking at with the evidence of what we've seen. I would love to see more players throw their name in the hat, but the likes of Sanju Samson or even Ruturaj Gaikwad need to first command their place in the specific 11s in those formats, and then we can look at them, as serious contenders. I don't mind if they actually go for a bit of a wild card in Shubman and let him carry on leading in the ODI format. But if KL Rahul plays, then I can see them going to them at least for the time being.
Yeah, worth adding for the perspective of the viewers, you tend to forget ODIs because they're played sporadically. KL Rahul has been one of India's top performing ODI batters. So while you may think that he's been out of the T20 mix, his place in the ODI side and the fact, as Raunak points out, he was captain in the last set of ODIs India played. There's also the added factor of his familiarity with Gautam Gambhir, having worked closely with Gambhir at LSG for 2 seasons in the IPL. Speaking of familiarity with Gambhir, I move to question number 4, which is, could we see a return for Shreyas Iyer? Because Raunak, he is out of a contract as things stand, and yet this is one of India's top performing batters from the last ODI World Cup.
It's a great question. And you know what? There's no reason why they shouldn't pick him for the ODI side. I understand why he wasn't given the central contract, and I'm happy to even accept what we can only believe is, the what the selectors wanted to achieve through that. If they were going to make an example out of 1 or 2 players and just, get a few who set the right precedents, have players follow the right examples, then I think the point is made and it was heard well, loud and clear. But there's no reason for Shreyas Iyer to be completely out of India's ODI plans. This is the format that he has excelled in. India owe it. Shreyas Iyer had a huge role to play in India's World Cup campaign. And if that can be amicably resolved with Gautam Gambhir coming into the fold, then there's no better chance for it. I don't think it's something which can, it's not a bell that can't be unrung. And Gambhir and Shreyas have shown what they can achieve when they work together. I don't think he's going to be a captaincy candidate for a while for the Indian team, but he's certainly, he would be well deserved of being called back for at least the ODI squad. So I'd like to see it happen. And if there was anyone else other than Gambhir as coach, we might have said, I don't think they'll happen. They'll go back. But I think the selectors would not be hated for, letting this one off a little leniently.
Okay, let's go to point number 5 now, which is the wicketkeeper in the ODI side. Lots of options all of a sudden, Raunak, because KL Rahul was there at the World Cup. Sanju Samson in the last ODI India played hit 100. And now you've got Rishabh Pant who's back. So who dons the keeping gloves?
Really good question again. You know what? For this one, I'm going to say they should back Samson. Simply because Rishabh Pant's return was to the Indian team was on the back of an IPL, and it proved to be a high impact decision. He may have tapered off in the semi-final and the final, but I think it was a good selection. But Sanju Samson has earned his stripes in ODI cricket in Pant's absence, and that for me now it's his place first up. It's his spot to lose. So I would like to see Samson back, at least in this format. It's going to be tough to handle a player like Samson by continuously keeping him on the bench. He's not going to play red ball cricket, and Rishabh Pant is. You also want to ensure that Rishabh Pant's workload is also managed. It's been remarkable what he has achieved, playing IPL and World Cup and surviving every game. We thought at one point he may not play 14 IPL games, and then what if he breaks down in the World Cup? And he's looked fitter than ever. But Pant has a big role to play in the home tests, part of the WTC cycle. He's got a big role to play in Australia later down under, and that will also be a test of his fitness. So I think as a result of what you want to achieve for Pant, but that's secondary. Primarily, Samson has done nothing wrong, and I think he should be in the ODI 11 and should be a part of the plans. Then between Rahul and Samson, you might want to pick the more informed keeper batter once Rohit, Kohli, and the rest of your squad assemble. So there's a case for Samson to compete with Rahul if he keeps his rich run of form in ODI cricket going. So I'd like to see him get a run.
All right, we will leave it at that. We've taken so long to discuss these talking points, so no wonder the selectors take as long, and the date of announcement keeps getting pushed back by a day. Hopefully, we'll have the squad out soon. Thank you so much, Ronak, for your time, and we will have you covered with all the analysis of those squads when they are out right here on ESPN Cricinfo.